and that means we're to the portion of the show where it's time for Scott's thoughts. And interesting topic this week. I wanted to talk about overcommitting yourself, because it happens to you, it happens to me, it happens to all of us. And then we find ourselves spinning too many plates, and inevitably one of them is going to crash to the floor and break into a billion pieces. So how do you prevent yourself from overcommitting yourself? Scott, take it away.
Well, this one is tough because I feel like a giant hypocrite even talking about this, because it is something that I'm guilty of as well as anyone else. So here's what I came up with about taking on too much and spreading yourself too thin. A 5-year-old boy is playing in his room. His toy box overflowing with fire trucks, G.I. Joes, helicopters, and all the toys a young boy could ask for. After a while, this boy walks up to his dad and says, "Daddy, I want a new toy." The father takes a knee and looks his son in the eyes and says, "Getting a new toy is fine, but you'll have to give up one you already have. We just don't have the room." And thus, this 5-year-old boy learned his first lesson in overfilling your plate, or your toy box in this case. Yet today, we don't get that lesson. It seems we constantly overextend ourselves, fill our plates to the brim, and accomplish nothing more than paying rent on Anxiety Avenue. So why do we do it? What makes us pile on to the point of tipping over? It seems like a pretty cut and dried topic with a simple solution, but for some reason, we have the biggest problem putting our foot down and saying no. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew. The tiniest changes in your schedule upend your day. You constantly eat on the go. You don't sleep enough. You dream of running away. You do nothing well, always on the edge, anxiety ridden. You're not having fun, and your body is shutting down. Well, for me, that's a Tuesday. However, for some, that sounded like a big farm commercial where a new pill might be the answer. And sadly, this becomes another talking point in demands of a rigorous lifestyle. But if you notice, the physical detriment to this behavior is tremendous, and it's something that has taken a toll on our collective physical and mental health. Yet we continue to do this to ourselves. Why? Well, I think the need to take on too much is steeped in the idea that more is better, that quantity upstages quality, and that this hustle culture that we live in, where success comes from total exertion every single day, is the accepted norm. The result of all of this is manic compression, where you squeeze more and more into your life that eventually it comes apart at the seams. We stop being human beings and we turn into human doers. You know, there are a couple of other reasons this happens beyond societal norms. Did you know that always wanting to be busy is in the top 4 trauma responses? And that FOMO, the fear of missing out, is a driving force as to why we jump at every opportunity presented to us. We live in a world that almost admires the busyness. We brag about how busy we are, how many activities we're in, how many friends we have, and yet our involvement in these endeavors is nothing more than superficial, because we don't have the time to invest in them. We truly miss out on life when we take on too much. Let me ask you, how many people truly know you? How many people can truly get to know you when you spread yourself so thin that you're almost invisible? Look, I get that we're busy people, and that sometimes the mountain of items to check off on your way to the top gets ridiculous. And sometimes, hey, that's life. But the issue becomes our inability to shut it down. And sometimes we get overwhelmed, not because we take on too much, but because we take on too little of what strengthens us. So how do we stop making our schedule become our identity? Well, it starts with setting some boundaries and knowing who you are and what fits into your value system. For if you don't have a set of core values that govern your life, well, the world's going to ask you who you are. And if you don't know, the world's going to tell you. So cling to these principles and let them guide you in the decision to take on the next project or the responsibility that somebody wants to give you. And set yourself some boundaries and stick to them. For example, pick a time at night where you shut it all down. No phones, no computers, no exceptions. And if people don't like it, remember that the only people upset about you setting boundaries are the ones benefiting from you having none. Walls keep people out. Boundaries just show them where the door is. Now, I understand that the world is exciting and possibilities are endless, but operating without a master plan will just get you double and triple booked. So learn the strategies of time management. For if you don't know how to control time, it will control you. Take a moment every day at the beginning just to sit down and plan things out as best you can, and utilize the planning fallacy. That's the idea where if you have a meeting scheduled for 30 minutes, well, schedule it for 45. If you think running errands is going to take you an hour, schedule it for an hour and a half. The idea is to build that time back into your day, because time is the most valuable commodity we have. So use it wisely. And the most important thing to remember is take care of yourself. If you're not scheduling me time, keeping the reserve tanks full, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not taking the time to enjoy the silence, then you probably should stop being a yes man. Remember, you're not required to set yourself on fire just to keep others warm. And if you're in a leadership position, like coaching, learn to delegate. Put a coach in charge of grades, another one in charge of social media, and another one for busing, and the list goes on. To wrap this up, we need to prioritize. We need to get organized. We need to realize that it's okay to say no. Spreading yourself too thin is common, but we sacrifice so many things, including our family. And when it comes to family, it's your presence, not your productivity, that's required. Take on what you can, but take on what you can and can do efficiently. Make sure what you commit to aligns with what you are committed to. Piling too much on your plate only makes you rushed and half dedicated, and things never get done correctly. And lastly, if you don't even have the time to do it right, when are you going to find the time to do it over? And those are Scott's thoughts.